Hello everyone, and welcome back. Hello again everyone, and welcome back to another one of our classic live streams. Today we are here at the lovely Rock of Gibraltar. We're going to be traveling downwards from the Rock of Gibraltar into Morocco and pretty much past the major mountain range, kind of ending up in this nice little place called Fes, just south of El Hajib. It should be a pretty good journey. I'm looking for a total flight time today of I think it's going to work out to be about 48 to 50 minutes, so it's going to be a little bit longer than what we've been flying recently, but I actually have some time because we're under about 15 inches of snow right now. So unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, it's going to be a heck of a ride. So one thing I've done already is I've actually dropped myself to nighttime. Now you're probably wondering why did I opt for night instead of opting? I'm not sure what I'm looking at here, but I'm very curious. I'm very curious. The reason I've opted to go with nighttime here is only on account of the fact that it's absolutely an incredible sunrise. So it's actually just a few minutes before sunrise, and we'll go ahead and get this going. Aircraft-wise today, we're sitting here in the T6. This is one of those racing planes. And when I say racing planes, I really mean finger quote racing planes, because these are definitely not I would consider to be high performance things, but you know what, they're not too bad. We could have done this in the jet too to make things a little bit more exciting, but it would have been a lot shorter of a flight. So let's go ahead and get this sucker going here. Parking brake's good. Go ahead and give it a couple whacks to the primer. Oh, it makes such a satisfying noise. Go ahead and crack the throttle. Make sure that's set. Make sure my propeller is set correctly. Make sure we're on the right fuel tank, which it looks like we are. I love this flap handle. It's just so industrial. I love these kind of things. I love how the starter switch is just clink, and you just kind of click, and the thing fires up pretty much right away. Just check all these switches to make sure they're the way I want them to be. Looks good. Generator's already set. Clear prop. That's it. Oh, that sounds awesome. All right, I'll wait for all my electronics here to kind of get all caught up to me. Looks pretty good. We got to give this thing a couple moments to kind of warm up. Oh, where's my oil killer? Whoa, don't pull that handle. I want this handle. Right there, about halfway through. Should be pretty good there. Check all my switches. I love this ancient radio where it's just a big old button that you're supposed to push. And of course, we got to flip on our transponder so everybody around us can see. I'm going to go pop over on this side, check a couple things. It looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Before landing, we'll let that thing kind of warm up. Like I said, I just want to make sure all my electronics are looking pretty good before I get too carried away here. Let's go ahead and pop that one more time, see if that works the way I want it to. These are things going on. Good. Everything works the way I hoped it to. So one of the neat little toys that I've been playing with a lot lately, and I'll go ahead and share this with everybody so you can kind of get a quick little peek at some of the stuff that I have coming down. Let me go change modes real fast while this thing is recharging here. I now have external instruments that I can actually pop over on another screen. In this case, I got myself my little G5 now, which is just kind of handy because it makes it much easier to fly aircraft with this. Like, you can actually look out the window to know kind of where you're going now. It's like cheating, you know? All right, let's get the show on the road. All right, gonna go poke out the window here. We're gonna need some ground handling. Ground handling! All right, let's do it to it. I believe the engine disagreed with me there, and I decided it rejected my ground handling efforts. There we go. Let's get going. Oh, this thing sounds so cool. Let's see, is it going to cut out on me again? I love the little red light to sort of give me a heads up that things are not going the way they're supposed to be going. Zoom in just a teeny tiny bit. I do not have access to the chat at this time, but I'm pretty confident I have to take a right turn here. Actually, we're going to go straight, and then we're going to take a right. Actually, I'll take a left. Why not? There we go. I'll start making my way down. I see a bunch of folks waiting along. Of course, if you're not passing one of these particular aircrafts and you would like to join us tonight, this aircraft, this is, like I said, it's a T6. Anything that'll do 185 knots will have no difficulty in the slightest trying to keep up with us on our little journey today. Only on account of the fact that this is not the fastest plane. If we took the P-51 out or something like that, totally different experience. The guy behind me, if you'd be so kind as to keep flashing so I could see exactly where I'm driving, that would be great. I believe that's the end of the runway right there. Now I'm just guessing. There's the runway lights. I knew they'd be there. Now in the real world, it really can't be this dark. I believe this is going to be my turn coming up right here. I don't know. Oh, well. It's over there somewhere. I'll just end up in the grass or something. Where's my landing lights? Oh, well. That's what I get for, not doing things responsibly. There we go. Now we're good. There it is. Nice. Okay. So one thing I do want to see, though, is I do want to see the size of the Rock of Gibraltar here. One of the reasons I chose this one is it is a pretty impressive piece of rock there. It was one hell of a fortress back there during World War II, and if you take a look at it, it's actually really, really intimidating. So what I'm going to do is cheat just a teeny tiny bit, and then I shall uncheat so we can go ahead, like I said, take a look at that beautiful sunrise that's going to come out in just a little while. All right, let's do it to it. Off we go. Maybe I'll just leave it like this. Why not? I love it. Just comes up. This thing makes such a satisfying noise. And look at that. Oh, man. Who left this here? Kind of reminds me like in Minecraft. It's like, whatever happens to all the stone and the dirt and stuff that you excavate out of the ground? Like, if you were to just make like a giant pile of it somewhere, like, what would it look like? And I'm taking a look at the left here, and this is exactly what I imagine that giant pile would actually end up looking like. Another thing I always think of, too, is there's a great James Bond movie called The Living Daylights. And there's a really, really fun scene here where, James Bond parachutes in or whatever it is and, gets stuck. And there's this whole, battle scene. He basically escapes and goes wandering off to try to get out. But he's basically running around in these little roads with, a little tiny Land Rover getting hunted down pretty darn aggressively. But, again, everything's so, so dramatic. All right, let's go sneak out this way, and we'll start making our way towards our destination. All right. Now I'll be able to see the chat just a teeny tiny bit better to see what's going on. Sterling, sorry to hear. Sorry to hear. Ted, sorry to hear also. Sometimes that kind of thing happens. All right, we're just going to come swing to the south here. I've got some muscle memory issues here. And we're just going to enjoy that beautiful sunrise on our way out today. Yeah, basically pulling straight south here. There we go. Delightful. Got ourselves all nice and neatly trimmed out here. This thing's looking pretty good. I'm actually really impressed with how easy this aircraft handles. Like, it's not like a project to fly this plane. It pretty much goes on its own pretty well. There's not a lot of mystery to it until you start to burn too much fuel out of one engine and not enough out of the other. Then it gets very grumpy at you. But got to kind of deal with it. For those of you interested in weather presets today, we are looking at weather of few clouds. I decided to do few instead of high, just on account of the fact that, like I said, it's so pretty to see the clouds as we kind of make our way through today. And I see somebody's got themselves an F-18E all the way, 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 way out there, so they'll probably join us. Yeah, Sterling, unfortunately, we did not get ourselves 2 feet of snow where we are. We actually got closer to about 16 inches today. So it was definitely pretty scary. And every once in a while, the lights would flicker. And for a half a second, I'd be like, well, we might accidentally have to cancel another live stream. Otherwise, I'll have to figure out some kind of battery backup or something. I don't know exactly what it would be. I'm going to go flip up my little GTN 750 here and see if I can take a look. Come on, GTN 750. I need to push this button. There we go. That's all I needed to do. Hey, RJ. Oh, I love to hear it. You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. I've got some interesting things coming out, and then I always say that every single one of these videos, but I do have something very different coming out. And I appreciate RJ. Everybody's support's been incredible. They've been amazingly supportive. I love poking around every once in a while on Reddit or looking on the Microsoft Flight Simulator forums and finding, somebody posts, oh, just follow this tutorial to fix this thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember doing that. So it's super duper great for you to come ahead and swing by. And again, anybody's welcome to join us on our flight tonight. We just took off from Gibraltar. We're going down to a Golf Mike Foxtrot, which is basically going to be in southern, like I said, Morocco earlier. Now, this is interesting. We have Dirty Tomcat 77 is my absolute favorite World War II airplane. The P-38 is an amazing airplane. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, it's rendering it as an airliner, but I wish so much. I wish so much. I love the P-38. It does so many things so well. Oh, by the way, we all actually got a red plane this time, which is kind of nice because a lot of times I don't. Fast Ted, it looks like you're making really good time there. So you're doing a little bit of the Zoom thing. And I'll go ahead and say hello to everybody in a minute. I just want to get myself up to about 5,000 feet, which is what I appear to have gotten myself up to. I'm going to come to the right just a tiny bit. And we're going to go ahead and pull the RPM back here. We don't need to be doing quite that many revolutions per minute, comrades. And that's awesome. Sweet. Now, the fuel system on this thing is so wonky for those of you who have not checked this one out before. Let me give myself some trim here. I hate Microsoft Flight Simulator trim. I'm sure everybody will agree with me. I'm going to have to release a tutorial video showing you how I've discovered a way to kind of hack the way it works. Because if you press and hold it, it gets really aggressive like it just did a second ago. Then you end up in this like impossible to control oscillation that just constantly goes up. There it goes. Up and down, desperately trying to get the thing under control. All right, but let me show you what I mean by a weird fuel system. Check this out. So my fuel gauge on this thing is this little needle on the floor. This is 55. That's for the right tank. For the other tank, you actually have another gauge on the floor. This is 52 right now. And again, I set my trim and I looked away for a second and look what it did. But the best part of all is check this out. Your actual handle for fuel has a reserve tank, a left tank, and a right tank. And all three are completely different quantities of fuel. Oh man, I can't dogfight with that. I'm a little outclassed by P38 here. Good for you, Dirty Tomcat. I got to figure out what P38 you actually have there, because I wasn't aware that Flight Sim had a P38 right now. Must be something that we didn't see too much. Speaking of stuff that's coming out, I'm sure you've been following the news. PMTG is going to be releasing their 737-700 first. That is super exciting. I cannot wait to take that thing for a spin. And for those of you who know your controls, you'll have the ability to share your cockpit with it, assuming there's no weird shenanigans, which would be amazing. We can already do that with the Airbus, and I gotta say, it's one of the coolest things. All right, go ahead and trim this thing down just a few more clicks. And I'm going to say hi to Dirty Tomcat there. That is just so awesome to watch there. Love it. All right, let's see who we can say hi to today. All right, so welcome back, Bugs 8 Will, Lafarog, Fast Ted, X-Winger, USAPR, Footnogger, SDO 91, and of course, Dirty Tomcat. Everybody who's following today, welcome back, all of you. I don't see anybody new, but if for some reason there is somebody new hanging out behind me that I missed, I apologize in advance. One of the things I did not do correctly this flight is I didn't take the time to go ahead and extremely carefully explain where we're going and where we need to go and all the whens and things like that. I was too busy kind of putting out other fires. We just started a brand new term. This year, I should say this particular semester. So it's been an interesting experience to say the least so far. It's always amazing to see the new students that you get and kind of like the new challenges and the weird schedules and things like that. But it's also pretty cool. Love the fact this wheel is just chilling. Who did I just get passed by? I see I got a Spitfire up here on the right. Nice. CY57 hanging out of there. An FG1D. P51GF. Ah, there it is. I can't quite make it out from here, though. Nice. Anyway, so let's kind of make our way down here. So the first airport we're going to be passing is going to be coming right up here on the right. I'll go ahead and brighten things up just a teeny tiny bit. We'll assume that a little bit of time has passed. I like a little bit of orange, though. There we go. Perfect. Now we're just a Flemish painting. So we're right down here on the right. You're going to see your perfect place. Ugh! So Tom the Gunshaw asks a very, very valid question. He says, hey, P, I'm looking forward to the video. I was wondering, what does the P stand for? It actually stands for Phil. I'm not a Pat, I'm not a Paul. So it's one of those things that in the early days of YouTube, I'm talking like 2008 YouTube, like I had the ability, you had to create an account so you could like see videos that were like a certain whatever. I needed to upload something that was 10 minutes and you have an account. So I just put my little basic Gmail into there. And of course, that was my Gmail at the time. That's all changed by now. But unfortunately, I never bothered changing it. You know, I thought about changing it, but now it's just kind of there. So I kind of stuck with it. So no, it's not Pat, it's Philip. And it's with one L, too. I always love the people who try to spell with the two L's, and it's like, that's Philip. It's a different person. They don't get that, though. All right, so if you're wondering why I chose the coast, this is so wild, by the way. Look at all the windmills. That's crazy. Oh, man, that's a lot. That's a lot. How's it going, Hop? That one I don't know. So one thing, we're kind of curious why I chose to go flying over Morocco and Warbirds. Actually, was just reading a book on the campaigns in North Africa with Operation Torch, which I have to admit, it seems to, it's proving my point that all warfare is essentially incredibly awkward and confusing. There's no like structure to it, like when you play like video games and everything like makes sense and you have good image of everything that's around you and you understand what's going on at all times. It's just not like that at all. And I've talked to a few veterans from Afghanistan, and it's just something they always agree, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Games just don't understand how weird it can be. Still dark for me, and the windmills are just a red line. David, if you need, you can always click here and drag this box right here, and you can set the time to anything you need it to be. So you can pop that up and make it look all groovy if you want. Are you flying? Am I flying? Not sure. Am I? I mean, I'm wiggling the controls and I'm moving. We got a Schwarz 51. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer glance here. B-51BU. They're going to start appearing on me in just a second. Take a peek out the back. And looks like everybody's formed up really, really well at this point. Well done, everybody. What's this? Oh, yeah, that's that really souped up plane. I forget which one this is, like 300 horsepower VL3 or whatever it is. Way too efficient. Bummer I don't have the Spitfire, because, man, that would be so amazing to see that come sneaking up behind me. And I'm getting off course, so I'm actually going to swing to my left just a teeny tiny bit here. Of course, the moment I start swinging, it's going to start singing down quite a bit. They should add a Stuka with a siren. And what would you use that for? There was actually a fun article that came out a little while ago, and they were mentioning the fact that the reason we'll never see weapons in Microsoft Flight Simulator is it's actually built into the terms of service that you can't actually put something with a weapon on the Microsoft actual service there for Marketplace. So it's one of those things that it's very unlikely that we're going to be seeing something like that too soon. But again, people have already released many fighters, as we kind of know already, but you're just not going to be able to blow anything up. Now, if I remember correctly, if anybody remembers Microsoft Flight Sim from a few years ago, could you imagine people bringing back, Combat Sim rather, could you imagine bringing back Microsoft Combat Simulator with this engine? Now, that would be an impressive product. And I imagine it would be definitely a DCS competitor, for sure. That's so cool. I just love that. Take a look right off there. That's one of the runways. If anybody needs some quick refueling, that's going to be your next stop. What's going to be happening in a second is if you take a look at those really, really large mountains directly off our nose, we're basically going to be kind of going over the top of those and kind of going into the valleys and everything like that. Sterling mentions that he wants to see a B-29. To be honest, Sterling, I would love to just have a fully featured bomber anywhere. You know, give me something like a B-52 where you actually have to go down into the basement and start tweaking the individual knobs and making the aircraft so that, like, you have to work the navigation computer and, like, you have, like, the tail radar and everything else like that. It's, oh, no. It's one of those kind of things where I would love to see it. I've never seen it in DCS. I've never seen it in anything else before. I'm sorry, Byam. Something about North Korea plan? I'm not sure what you're saying. All right. Nice. We'll lose a little bit of altitude when we get a little bit closer. For now, I'm just trying to pick up as much speed as I can. Is that a North Korean plane? This aircraft right here, actually, Mr. Byam, this was an American trainer during World War II. Pretty popular one, actually. So you can see quite a few of these today. I think this is actually the racing version of it. Let me take a look. Yeah, piston healing. It was popularly used back from movies like Tora 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 as a Zero, because it kind of looks like a torpedo bomber. Unfortunately, it has the speed of a trainer plane. So you can see it says I'm doing about 200, so I'm getting about 170 indicated as far as knots goes. So not quite Korea, but you would have trained in one? Oh man, this guy's creeping up on me. Well done, well done. I have a video coming out on Thursday for DCS, for those of you who are curious about it. We had an interesting little operation with some F-16s, and we actually got some extremely precise precision flying with formation stuff trying to get in, but that was way more stress than it needed to be. All right, I think I finally got this thing trimmed out. What I'm going to do now is just do my quick little checks here. I had it trimmed out. Of course, I looked away for a second. That's what happens. That's fine. Let's go ahead and close that up real quick because we don't need to do that right now. That looks pretty good. I love the B-17. It's my favorite plane. No, that's awesome, Will. The B-17, it's a neat plane. And there's an X-Plane rendition of the B-17, which is actually very, very good. And it's pretty neat. But again, something I love to be able to actually aim the bombs for. I happen to be a B-24 fan when it comes to World War II. We had a B-29 in our Air Museum that I've sat inside more times than I'd like to admit to. And it was always absolutely wild, like getting to the engineer panel and having like a million, like 4 switches for everything, things for each individual engine, each individual magneto, each individual flap. It was overwhelming, which is why you had a separate office for it. But one of my favorite things in the B-29 was the tunnel that allowed you to connect the front of the B-29 to the back of the B-29. Of course, the honeypot was in the back of the B-29, so you could probably imagine that poor pilot that would have to deal with it. According to the old-timer with that one, when it came to the honeypot, whoever used it first was the one who had to clean it. So because of that, it was always about walking around the flight and giving people coffee the entire time. The goal, of course, if you could sort of trigger them into having to go to the bathroom first. Of course, the moment one person went to the bathroom, everybody in the airplane had to line up to use the bathroom afterwards because they basically been trying to get it. Sprint 955 says it flew real Texan. Not been able to fly a Texan myself. They actually had it where you could pay the $600 at a local airport. I was very tempted. The only thing that kept me away from it was, $600. But from my experiences, I love how mechanical it is. Like, there's just like pipes and wires and things like constantly just dangling out all over the place in here. It's not like it's like carefully refined like a modern fighter jet or something like that. It just kind of is, which is it's so cool. Like, you literally see the individual wires and springs. If I go ahead and squeeze my brakes, you can actually see them kind of squeeze. And it's just a little piece of metal that you're bending backwards. It's just, it's so much. It's so much. All right, right in about the halfway point or so, we're making a very, very good time so far. This plane, finally, I got it decently stable, so it's cruising along pretty nicely. One thing I do want to do, though, is I want to go check on my fuel supplies here. Looking straight down, I'm looking at 55 on that side. I'm looking at 45 on that side. I think it's probably a good idea to go ahead and flip the tanks. I'm going to reach over here and go click, and now we're going to go suck some gas out of the right side. I can actually feel the airplane starting to pull to one side now. It's actually starting to do one of these if I did not put my hands on the actual controls. I have a series. Whoa! Did I just get BF-109'd? I don't think we have one of those in a DCS yet. Nice going, Schwartz. Nice going. All right, we're about to get a little tactical. My little nervous point of concern here is the fact that as I come making my way into this valley, if I do go diving down into it, I'm probably not going to be able to dive back out of it. Now, if I were in a P-51, no problem. No problem. One really cool thing with this, if you haven't tried this before, check this out. Ha-ha! Uh-oh. That's a problem. You're supposed to see. Oh, well, it's just kind of fun to play with more than anything. And I think I wrecked the center of gravity of the plane because now I'm pitching up a little bit. We'll go back in the front seat here. Cassio, could you tell me what Voltana is? I'm not sure what it is. That's a teacher strategy, by the way. You ask them a question, you let them answer the question, and then you immediately follow up with something even harder for them. It's a reward for volunteering. I don't know that I'd want to do aerobatics with this aircraft. It's not to say it can't do aerobatics. It's more of one of those, I just don't feel safe with it, because you just don't have the power to get out of something that you got yourself into. That being said, it's pretty darn lightweight, and when you land this thing, you can land at 80 miles an hour without any issues at all. Give it just a little bit of nose up here. There we go. Perfect. Food2 Max asks, your museum? I was a docent at the New England Air Museum, which is located in Windsor Locks, Connecticut for 10 years. One of the reasons I like planes, in case you couldn't tell, is the fact that I was exposed to them all the time. So one of the things that was incredible is, like, it wasn't just airplanes like a B-29 or like we actually had a P-51. You also got things such as, had these like the PB, well, not a PBY, what was the plane? You had things like an Albatross. They had a glorious VS-44, which was a gigantic flying boat, basically reserved for the ultra-rich and famous, which was an incredible airplane. They had, original Piper Cubs with, the fuel gauge was that little thing that came out of the front of the plane and just sort of was afloat. We had things like a Republic CB, which was just, like, why? Why does this exist? And we also had a really fun one, too. It was like a goose, but it had a variable incidence wing. So you could essentially tip the whole wing upwards in order to shorten your takeoff run with it. But it was also completely amphibious as well. We also had some weird ones from the 50s. Like we had a Sky Ray, which is just wild. We also had the ability to, we had a, what do you call it? Oh, what was that weird one that I always got a kick out of? Oh, I got to think about it now. It'll come to me. Oh, they had an F-89 Scorpion. And that was one of those aircraft that I was always like, I just love that plane. I really, really wish I had something. Sterling says, I've been to that museum many times. That's awesome, Sterling. If you knew what years you went to them, it's possible that I would have been on the floor during those. It's fine, Sprint. No, those things are so fun. All right, we're starting to get up a little bit into some interesting terrain here. I've rambled enough, I think, today. Just kind of in that sort of mental mood here. We're going to be passing over the top of this. I cannot pronounce this thing to save my life here, so I'm not even going to try. It's like the Cheftuanu mountain here, and we're basically going to be swinging over the top of this and entering into a really, really long valley. And our destination of Sais is basically going to be, let's call it about 15 minutes in that direction, which isn't too bad at all. So one thing I do want to do, though, is I don't really want to go flying into the side of this thing. This is one of the taller mountains you can get up to in this particular region. Let me go sneak over this way. I'm just going to pick up just a little bit of altitude here. I don't need too much. I got my trim finally perfect. And we'll kind of make our way up here. 2000 to, so Sterling, there was a very good probability I was a docent on the floor during that time. And like I said, I love working at the museum. It was an amazing gig. You met the most incredible people, and you gave tours I can do a 2-hour airplane tour anywhere. In case you haven't noticed what I'm doing right now. But I remember, like, my favorite groups is you had no control over the kind of folks who you would have a tour group with. You know, one day you'd have a bunch of, let's say middle school kids, that's a different crowd. And then 5 seconds later, you had a bunch of preschoolers. And like preschoolers, they have different needs as far as energy goes and as far as understanding goes and things like that. But of course, the best one I ever had, or not the best one, but one of the ones I'm like, is we had a group of Coptics from Egypt. And they were fully decked out in all of their robes, completely ready to go, like the long black ones with the beads and everything. And these people were like super duper stoic, like you just would not believe it. And it's like, you finally meet these people and like, how am I supposed to entertain and educate kind of a thing, So you do your usual things like, yeah, that's the F-4 Corsair. You probably noticed on the right wing, there's a little piece, like a little prism that's been basically duct taped on the front. That basically helped break out the stall. So when the aircraft would stall, it would stall evenly rather than spin towards the left wing. You'd be doing like your little piece or something. And you gotta imagine this guy with this long beard down to the top of his chest. I see, very interesting kind of a thing. And it's like, okay. So then the next piece we would always do is we go over to the P-47. And I'd be like, well, okay, this P-47, heaviest plane in World War II, boop, 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 the whole spiel. And then, of course, the guy's like, well, I'm like, would you like to sit inside? So you got to imagine this guy, again, long robe, long black robe, and his whole family, everyone covered hair, the whole works here, strong accent and everything. They climb into the P-47, he takes the controls, and, he looks down, he immediately goes like this, goes, like that, and just starts laughing like a little kid, and it's like if the Pope did it, it's just one of those things that you have to see it to kind of believe it, sort of a thing like that. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And I remember having things I'd have the airplane modelers group, and everybody knew 1,000 times more than I did, which is awesome. Because I'm like, all right, you guys give the tour. I'm just going to sit here and go, But again, those are super duper fun times. All right, let's see if I can sneak down this valley. I don't want to dive into low altitudes just yet. I want to get a little bit further along here because I'm looking off my nose, and it's like, I don't like that mountain. Like I said, we're going to be popping into the big valley here, get to just the south side of everything. I just want to swing to my left just a teeny tiny bit. Now, one of the things that you might find kind of interesting is if I actually open up my GTN 750, I am actually doing a decent job of staying on the correct heading here. I am proud of my capabilities of actually flying in a straight line. Not too bad. What I keep doing here is I always pick something up on the side here, and I kind of point my plane towards it. And if I start drifting, I just kind of quickly adjust. So believe it or not, I am navigating here. It's not completely just having fun. This is amazing. When I think of North Africa, I don't think of this. I think of the deserts. So it's just kind of one of those sort of things. It was excellent. You're right, FUT-Max. Again, I love stuff like that. I think one of my favorite airplanes at the whole museum, though, had to be the F-104 Starfighter. That thing was ridiculous. When you want to talk about a plane you put on a pair of pants, you basically, when you climbed up, the lid was 1,000,000 pounds. You got inside the thing, you just plopped, and you could see 6 inches. This is what it looked like to fly around in this thing. This is an F-104. And you're like, I think the seat's too low. And it's like, nope, that's how it's designed. And you do one of these things, trying to find the wingtip, and you can't even look out the back. Sterling Archer asks an excellent question. Yeah, definitely. No, I've actually, it's funny you say that, Sterling Archer, because that is something I've wanted to do recently. You know, I was sitting there putting together where my next, like I usually do videos kind of in an arc, like they're kind of themed in case you haven't seen. But one of the things is that was something I want to come back and do. I really like the NXI, and I feel like the mods finally got mature enough that it's not going to crash my flight sim or give me issues with other navigational tools. So that's definitely something I will go back and go do. Because one of the planes we have at the one of the flight club planes is a G1000, like a real G1000, and I was super excited to fly it in the real world. And there's, oh man, there's a lot of things on that you can do that you cannot do in the one that's basis. I definitely am going to check that out, Sterling. Ah, I recognize this one. Oh, let's see here. Cool. All right. Yay for moderation. All right, let's go ahead and have some combat flying here. All right. I'm going to go lose a little bit of altitude. I love the wind noises. That's great. Now, what I actually have coming up real soon, for those of you who are curious what I've got on tap, so to speak. Oh my God, it's starting to get a little bit of left. One of the things that's going to be coming on very, very shortly is I'm actually building a video series dedicated to all the video flying trainers that you can operate with. The reason I'm doing this series is I know a lot of people see this game and they get a little intimidated by kind of like where to start. So there'll be a whole... Oh my gosh, there it is. There it is, right there. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't chase that. I'm sorry. Oh, I can do this one. Full throttle. Oh, I'm going to catch up. Anyway, so it's going to be a video series dedicated to individual airplanes and describing their benefits and downsides of using them as a primary trainer. So that'll be super duper fun. Oh man, this thing's starting to get a little weird. Like I'm running out of trim. This is so cool. I wonder if we're going to see any elephants. Probably not. Oh, this is so cool. I need to concentrate because I know this plane really doesn't tolerate abuse as much as some of the other planes do. According to this, let's see here. I have 2 hours and 48 minutes worth of fuel left. It's so cool having these external tools now. It's a sim. Oh, you're right, FUT Max. Actually, fun story. My good friend, trainers like the Bulldog Hawk, Will, it's actually going to be trainers like the ones you can fly in Flight Sim by default. Like, for example, this one. But, you know, things like, you know, the DV-20 or the, you know, Robin Cadet or the Cessna 152, like those trainers, because all those other jet trainers cost money. I'm thinking more of the folks who don't necessarily have access to it. Rick asked about the F4 for DCS. Oh, my God, Rick. Yes. The F4 is probably one of my favorite aircraft of all times. We had one of those at the Air Museum as well. And to be honest, I don't know how people were able to keep track of all the information thrown at you with all the switches around you in that aircraft. Not to mention the person who sits in the back seat has got to be the thinnest person on Earth because you have to be like lowered in straight in, like putting a piece of toast in a piece of bread in a toaster. Like you can't just. It's such a small plane in that sense from the front seat there. But the F4 is an absolutely amazing plane, and I cannot wait. It's going to be an E model, which is quadruple points. I know many of the folks that, you know, follow the streams and follow us on YouTube probably saw these things, or they probably saw, you know, the Royal Navy version or this Air Force version as well. And we know that they're still kicking around. You know, well, the Air Force in the United States didn't get rid of their F4s until basically the 90s. So it's actually kind of interesting to see just how much life that aircraft had. Now, my personal favorite version is the E version. I love the G. But the E version is definitely got a place in my heart. The museum had a B without the gun, and like I said, that guy in the back seat, that's intense. That's like being a ball gunner on a B-17 or something like that. It's just sketchy. And this is a beautiful lake, and I must annoy it. Rick, I knew somebody was going to say something like that. Rick, for those of you who missed the comment, he basically said, "Given enough thrust, a brick will fly." He's not wrong, though. Like the F4, I think we talked to one of the people we had a tour on, actually flew them during the late part of the Vietnam War, basically for combat air patrol. And one of the things he commented on was the fact that the aircraft, you know, if you kept it around 500 knots, it turned fine. And I'm like going, 500 knots and it turned fine? You know, for anybody who's a huge fan of DCS, which, like I said, I've got some videos starting to sneak out a little bit. I'm not having those flag subscribers yet. I don't want to scare anybody off just yet. But one of the things was, it's just extreme. Like 500 knots is a lot to be able to turn. You know, it takes a lot of energy to build up that much speed. Of course, I wonder what my fuel economy is going to be like too if I'm ripping around an afterburner at low altitude. That'd be terrible. Think of things like the MiG-21. This must be a bit of a shock. These guys are just sort of chilling, and all of a sudden a bunch of airplanes from World War II come ripping by. That's got to be troublesome. This thing's actually pretty stable. I'm not impressed. Not impressed. That's a technical term. The other one too, Rick, is that with the F4E, we're going to get a later model and an earlier model, which means we're going to get the Mavericks with the tube, which is so sketchy. But what I'm really, really helping, I would love to see people have the old school laser guided bombs where you had to use the telescope to point the laser. Man, was that old fashioned, but it's just so cool. It's just so cool. William Kelly asks, what am I flying right now? This is a T6. This is one of the aircraft that come with that little, if you remember a little while ago, Microsoft released a pack that had a bunch of air racers in here. This was one of the air racers that it released. I just got the cheap $20 pack so I could get the P-51, this one, the L-39, and that extremely sketchy Pitts 2S as well. That's the one that I'm flying. Speaking of which, I think I need to take a look at my fuel situation here. I think my left... Oh, boy. This is so dangerous to do at low altitudes. Oh, let's see what we got here. Yeah, it's 46. What do we got on this side? You know, I could just use the menu, too, like a smart person. They're actually evenly balanced. I'm starting to feel the plane pull to the left a little bit here, so I'm figuring that we're starting to suck down some fuel on that side. Let's see here. The aviator that became my IP in the Norfolk Naval Air Station Air Club transferred from the F4 to the F14. It's funny you say that also, Rick, because I've been doing a lot of DCS recently in the F14, basically treating it like an F4, you know, putting sparrows on it and like the old AIMs on them, just putting Mark 82s. Yeah. Yeah, William, this pack isn't bad. I mean, like, from a systems perspective, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed that most of this doesn't work. You know, if I hold my mouse here and it does this. I know this is supposed to be for racing, but, like, I love this stuff. Like, I love all these. Oh, my gosh, I love all those things. I'm sorry. And then this RMI is, like, less than useful here. I mean, I play with it during a video trying to get it to work right, and it has not behaved. I still have this guy, so I can always pull this thing out. Oh, I am actually a little off course here. If I'm, like, worried about getting lost or something like that. But, like, I wish that worked. No, you know how it is, though. You know what it is. Fonagar has been saying, I've been playing X-Plane only for the last 2 weeks, but, oh, man, the scenery makes me want to travel. Yeah, it's... when COVID goes away, my family and I are going to be traveling to Jordan. And it's one of those things. We've flown to Jordan as a group before. And, like, I feel like I'm missing so much of the world just because, you know, you never think of those as destinations. You know, like, for me, it's like, oh, we're going to go to some nice tropical island or something like that. But it's like, look at this. And you know that there's not many airplanes. You know there's not that many cars. You know that there's not going to be a lot of people. You know things are going to be relatively cost effective. Things are going to be quiet. Yeah, there's going to be some cultural challenges. I mean, this region, if you don't speak French, then the Arabic better be pretty good. So it'll be a very, very interesting how that goes. All right. This is called the Barrage at Al-Wada, which is amazing because I almost got that pronounced correctly. It's probably not Barrage. It's probably Barra. Yeah, Barra al-Wada. Hey, got it. Yes. This is a really nice inland lake here, but just look at how big this is. I bet you Nessie's down there somewhere. Couple whacks of trim. Let's see how everybody else is doing. Laughlrog's doing pretty well. Fast Ted's looking pretty well. Shorts is good. And like I said, J-Bug's the 8th. I don't know that I've seen you, so welcome to the stream if I haven't caught you from before. Or apologies if I've missed you in the past. And we're going to come swinging this way. This is so cool. Imagine getting like your little like kayak out and just like ripping around this. Could you imagine how wonderful and how quiet it would be? Like, you know, at 6:30 in the morning during like, you know, some spring day. It does get snowy here, by the way. That was something that I did not know until I read that book on North Africa. Rather Schwartz says he's flying the P-51 with the Tuskegee. Gotcha. Now, X-Plane, I've been really tempted to go check X-Plane out again on account of the fact that I have this new thing that does like the external instruments that we saw at the beginning. Like I said, I'm cheating because I have this really, really nice G5 I'm looking at right now. But unfortunately, it's like, this is just gorgeous. And sometimes I do like to fly to sea. You know, I love to fly because it's challenging, but I also love to fly to sea. Let's see here. Futumax, could you clarify which Q&A you're referring to? Is that for the Flight Sim folks, or is that for the X-Flame folks, or is that for the DCS folks? David Heiss says, do we love VFR scenery? Yes, and thank you for reminding me of that one, David. That's an amazing pack if you do not have that. David Heiss was just saying something called We Love VFR. What it does is it adds things like towers, like, water... can't think anytime I'm tired. Water towers, antennas, power lines, things like that into the simulator whenever they would show up on a VFR chart so that you can use them for the purposes of identifying things looking around, which my Flight Sim does a decent job most of the time. But that's a wonderful pack. It's totally free. You just scoop it up and kind of run with it. Good call, David. I totally forgot to mention those things because those are really, really cool. MSFS. No, I did not. Futumax, could you give us a quick summary? Now I have to go look this up because obviously I missed something major here. I mean, there's a bunch of things I would love for them to work on. There's a lot of things that probably don't need to be worked on. One thing for me is internal support for shared cockpit would be huge. I love the shared cockpit. I have a good buddy, actually 3 or 4 buddies now that I fly with almost all the time, and we do that in VATSIM. Yeah, I'm going to check that out. Yep, I definitely need to switch tanks. I can feel it. But other things I'd love them to fix. The weather is still decent. Some of the avionics are pretty good, but there's especially I said especially, it's not a word. I said especially things like the G1000 is decent, but there's a lot of little things, especially if you're trying to do stuff. Prop wash, oh no. Not prop wash, no. So if you're wondering why that's a problem, so if I go ahead and pull this back. Fulton article, I believe, I don't want to be wrong on this. I feel like there's somebody who released something. No, there's multiple regions. Let me just call up a link super duper fast. I believe there's a European region, and I believe there's a regular region. I do not remember. North and South America and part of Oceania. That doesn't help us at all. Which one does this one do? Africa and the Middle East are also included. Yeah, so there definitely is a version that's got all. Yeah, Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Gotcha. I'll throw that link up in the chat super duper fast. There you are, sir. You can all thank David Heiss for this one, by the way, because he's the one who reminded me of how cool it is. And again, it's free. It takes 5 minutes to install, and it adds some really, really neat scenery that just makes things so much more realistic for those of you who are into those kind of things. All right, let's move to the right a little bit. Excellent. I love that, because right now this game has no concept of real P factor and no concept of real torque. Now, for those of you who are curious what I mean, I'm about to... Oh, somebody just snuck up on me. Who's that? Simon! Hey! Welcome back, Simon. He's popping on that one. Biggie prop if you watch the live. I'm going to have to watch that FUT Max. Thank you. So expect me to say something about that. The scenery is also pretty good. But you know what would be amazing? If there was a driving thing in this, so you could drive around instead of fly around. Let's simulate traffic. I posted up on the link if you need it as well. Now, if you're wondering, prop wash. So X-Plane does a really, really nice job with prop wash. It's actually one of the frustrations I have going between X-Plane and MSFS. In MSFS, if I pull the throttle like this, notice I still have complete control authority. If I did the same exact thing in X-Plane, the plane would immediately go like this. Unless you're T-tail, of course. Got to bring out those FAA questions every once in a while. Oh, this is so wild. We're just sneaking into basically the northeast corner of Africa. Could have probably taken the P-51 today to go a little bit zoomier, but I don't know. I kind of like the pace. It's nice and relaxing. I just love flying things like this. To the right, I love the old school pitot tube sitting right there on the edge of the wing. So old school. I'm gonna come down this way just a teeny tiny bit. Yeah, we're making good time. All right. One thing I wish that Microsoft would do a better job of is their VR support. Their VR support is pretty good. If I want to make everyone crazy, I'll push the VR button right now and everybody will go, ah, as their screen splits funny. But the performance is not great. I mean, I'm getting, let's call it 130, 140 frames a second right now. But when you put it in VR, it goes down 40. It just, it's so frustrating. So frustrating. right, sneaking out this way. Got 19 miles to go, about 20 nautical miles. I'm trying to remember about, well, of course, 19 miles to go, 20, duh. Hey, it's been a really long week, all right? Like I said, new term. But we're going to be making our way just like this. We got a little bit of a wind to the right, so when we do get there, you're basically going to be flipping yourself directly. Let's see here. We have our wind from the right. So that means we have to go left and then right. Yep, left and right. So you're basically going to get a right downwind for their primary runway there. Yeah. The thing is, I go play DCS VR. I can do that on a Reverb G2, and it's like smooth. You try it in Microsoft, even on like low settings, it's a bit bumpy. And there's something really wrong with the world scale. What's that? World scale. Everything looks way too small or way too big, depending on what airplane you climb into, and it's just disorienting. Yeah. The interesting thing with this game is my frame rate is 100% dependent on my internet connection. Like if somebody's like, watching like something streaming, my game slows down because it's trying to pull all that photogrammetry off of their servers. And if it can't keep up and then keep up with itself, all of a sudden you get all this, even though you're flying, in the middle of North Africa. I don't know, just kind of one of those things. Makes me crazy. All right, 15 to go. So what we're going to be looking out for here is if you look right over the nose, we're going to be popping out into a really, really large valley. Big town. Now, this is the town of FES. I'm guessing that's Fez. It also could be Fez, but I think that would be, I don't want to be wrong on that. Fez is cool? I don't know. No idea. Landing this thing is kind of fun. Unfortunately for us, we're still carrying a lot of fuel on this, so landing this is going to be kind of a bear. I got 40 on that side, and I think I have, roughly 40 on the right side, too. And of course, I have the reserve tank if I need it, but it's just going to be a little heavy. I just got passed by a dude who has his first wheel up. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's awesome. That's actually a Spitfire. Everybody imagine a Spitfire do that. Don't imagine the Maul or whatever that equivalent is. And here we are. Look at the size of this town. You've got yourself a full city here. This is not like a little heat town. This is pretty hardcore. But I love how you always get to see like the little suburbs, and then it makes its way directly into this thing. Looking about getting an inexpensive setup. Rick, I have the Rift S and the Reverb. The Rift S is great for like, I like to call it tee-hee kind of things because the trackings are good. Like if I'm going to play like a shooting game, I'll probably go use that one. The Reverb is just beautiful. Graphics are absolutely incredible, but it's just, to say that it wasn't ready for whatever you want to call it is true. But one of the things I'll give you about, like that. No, it's FES, Simon. FES. No, you're right. It's Fez. The thing, Rick. So with the Reverb, it's a great piece of things, but it is. Dean Budd says, hello, folks. Watching from New Zealand, bringing the New Zealand World Update. Coffee's on me. Thank you so much, Dean. That is awesome. One of the things I was gonna, no, I won't lament. Thank you so much. New Zealand is another one of those countries my wife and I have been trying to get to our entire lives. But unfortunately, your seasons are reversed. So when I'd want to go is not when you'd want to go. Unless, of course, you like skiing. But unfortunately, the wife does not ski. So thank you so much for that. That was awesome. I like how he says coffee's on me. The interesting thing about New Zealand is apparently they have really, really good coffee houses in Auckland. So that's something somebody was trying to explain that to me. And I'm like, that seems an awful far away from where coffee comes from. But hey, if it's good, it's good. I don't care. I'm a huge coffee fan myself. All right, there's an F-22 over there. That kind of scares me a little bit, but that's all right. All right, let's do a nice low pass over the lovely city here, and we'll kind of come swinging on in, and I'm bringing into the landing. Should be right off our nose. Laffle watch out for those buildings. Fast head. Careful. We've come a very long flight today. That is awesome. That is so wonderful. YouTube's been interesting the last little while. One of the reasons you saw a post asking about Patreon in the last couple of weeks is because of the way they've changed things a little bit. But again, we'll see. I don't think that's going to be anything. If we do go a Patreon route, I've come up with kind of a neat little idea for it. But it's all going to be completely 100% dependent on kind of how times come play out. Again, nothing I'm not going to do until the spring. All right, let's see here. We have, 1,875 feet. Which means our traffic pattern altitude should technically be 2,875 feet. So I got to get a little bit of altitude. Oh, this thing's just zooming and I can hear somebody creeping up on me. There we go. Close enough. Ooh! Negative cheese. Negative cheese. Nice. Yeah, New Zealand, Jordan. At some point I have to visit England. I mentioned many live streams ago the fact that, like, I think the most English thing you can possibly do is, like, take the train on the countryside. And I think at that point Simon called out and said the fact that the train's gotten a little too expensive for that. But Tesla roof. Oh, wow, Rick. They do not allow us to have solar power in our little development that I live in. So unfortunately, that's out. That is something I've always wanted to do. When it comes to VR, keep an eye out. A lot of VR companies are starting to put the graphics hardware on the headset as opposed to putting the graphics hardware like on the computer. So you're going to quickly get to a point where you're going to get really good performance in your headset without needing a ridiculous setup. So keep that in mind. FUT Max asks, do I have a Discord? I do not have a Discord, unfortunately. One of the restrictions, because of what I do for a living, limits my ability to have certain types of social media. So I do have a private Discord for, like, family, but unfortunately I do not have a, like, regular just hop on kind of Discord. Like I said, I'm exploring the Patreon option only on account of the fact that that's considerably more private on who can be let in, who can be let out. I don't know if anybody was watching, but two students came by a little bit earlier in the chat. They were the ones not making inappropriate comments. They were just being students. Let's go ahead and look at my right wing here. There we go. Delightful. Emglinged. So hopefully that answers your question for that one. All right, right traffic. This has been such, I don't know, this has been relaxing. I feel like I've rambled too much, but I think it's fun. I love flying. Like, just give me an excuse to fly. I just think of, my friends are like, oh yeah, can I go to such and such? I'm like, I'll drop you off. What? That's like 300 miles away. I'll drop you off. It's just the greatest thing ever. Oh, J-Mac, that is a known issue. We had the same problem on the Arrow, the Piper. It was terrible. And they found out that basically when Microsoft broke the flaps the first time, they overcorrected it, and then they broke it again when they uncorrected it. So I would not be surprised if the Spitfire has the same issue with that. Outer marker. All right, for those of you who like to join us at the picture, I'll see you over at the terminal. Oh, that was nice. Yeah, like I was mentioning earlier, I had a visit from a couple students there. It was kind of fun. Oh, I'm not that bad. Any student who's ever had me knows I hate talking. It is not my thing. Oh, careful, don't forget your gear! That was a little bumpy. I'm a big fan of the two-pointer with this airplane, if you can get away with it. Remember, all three-pointers are just failed two-pointers? How many landings is that? 4? 5? 6? Oops. Just can't see it. That's the problem with this plane. Uh-oh. See? See? You saw that. You saw that. It's all right. We all do it. All right, let's do this. I hear the Orient Express is still kind of cool. I'm gonna go down to Zagreb and stuff like that and see like that whole part of the world. Hey, the Baba Yaga visit. That's my students for you, Photnoggle. My students always complain, like when something's not working, like with video editing or like when they're trying to fly the planes or something. I always come by and it's like, oh yeah, what's up? And all of a sudden everything works fine. It's like, it's the aura. Oh man, this is a great flight. I had a lot of fun tonight. All right, I'm going to go park by these little dudes. If you'd like to go ahead and join us for the photograph, you're welcome to swing by for that, and we'll go ahead and get it. There's a very psychedelic-looking plane over there on the left. So while I'm going ahead and parking this sucker right here, does anybody have any suggestions for where and what we should fly next? I've got a couple ideas myself, but I'm just kind of curious if there's anybody who's in the mood for any particular thing. Rick gets it. Like I say, I always make the mistake of trying to do the two-pointer on this thing. You just do a three-pointer and you'll never have a problem. But I don't know, there's something about a two-pointer which is just so much more stylish than three-pointers. All right, anybody who wants to be in the picture, come on by and I'll go ahead and throw the picture together. It's so funny, my G5 display is having a seizure. Oh no, Aiden, you missed. Yeah, I'll show you something really fun. Watch this, watch this. Oh no, it's freaking out. All right, we'll go ahead and get that picture. I'm loving this guy right here in the airliner. Like, you know, why not? Why not? Sorry, Hughes. Sorry, man. Oh, boy. I should have done this at the P-30. I have to go find this P-38 now. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. All right, let me go ahead and snap a quick picture. Doing. And then, of course, let me find the nearest lake to us, and let me go smack into it because, you know, I found a lake. I found a lake. All right. So, as always, I always like to do a little Q&A at the end. Does anybody have any questions and or suggestions for future videos, future streams, anything I can interest anybody in? I'm going to go ahead and take off and make my way over to this little lake I just discovered. Oh, going up. The little crash you just heard was thrown up by landing gear. I actually have a really nice one. There's nothing wrong with the Jumbo. He's just enjoying his flight, too. Actually, I'm pretty confident that was the P-38 model. I got to find out where that thing is because I love the P-38. For those of you who've never tried IL-2 BOS, there's a P-38 that you can basically purchase, unfortunately. I gotta say, unfortunately, because it costs money. But one of the things I love about it is the fact that it's so much smaller than you think it is. Like, I was legitimately surprised. All right, let's go to some awfulness to this poor plane. Not so much Warbirds. I mean, we had a lot of Warbirds. We got a lot of Warbirds, but this is barely a Warbird. This is fairly civil, fairly civil. All right, time to do some cheating. Ready, cheat. Haha, gotta go. Thanks, Jeremy. Excellent. Flying iron, flying iron, flying iron. I gotta just remember that. So it turns out this aircraft has JADO. It's really, 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 really good JADO. All right, all right, all right. Here we go. There it is, right there. This is so much fun. I like how Microsoft Flight Simulator keeps track of how many hours you fly for each mission and everything like that. And if you crash, it does not count your hours. So my favorite thing to do is to crash. I don't know. There's some sick, twisted thing. If Microsoft is going to be strict, I will be anti-strict. Alrighty. It's going to get slow. Oh, yeah. The worst part is if you look at the floor, I'm totally skidding the plane. I'm going to see if I can get it to spin. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It doesn't like that. Oh, boy. Look at my indicated airspeed. I'm doing 60. There it is. Oh, come on. Oh, I'm so disappointed. All right, folks, as always, thank you for joining me for tonight. Special thanks to Dean Budd for that awesome little thing there. I think I will get coffee. I have to finish shoveling my dog out first, though. He's not really a fan of the snow. Oh, yeah, here it comes. No! Have a great night, everybody. And again, enjoy. We'll see you again in about 2 weeks. I got some ideas. Again, if you have anyone, you can always throw out. We got some pretty cool videos coming out. And like I said, I'm going to check out the G1000 NX to see what I can do with that. And also check out that P-38, which sounds awesome. Enjoy.